a while. This camera's covered completely in dust. Look, now I'm pretty. Oh my gosh. Holy smokes, it's been a while. Hey look, now my bench is actually almost clean enough to have this camera up here. Adjust this just a little bit. There we go. Alright, never mind the background noise. Our furnace is right behind us. It's like literally 0 degrees outside. We're right smack dab in the middle of the Arctic blast that's coming through, you know, well, pretty well the entire Midwest and like the entire middle of the, you know, country. But today, I just wanted to shoot a quick little video on cleaning my trap gun. That's just a case, don't get excited about it. Alright, so I started trap shooting a few months ago, and I've really gotten into it. Anybody that knows me personally knows that I kind of go full speed with half a brain. And what started out as, you know, just kind of getting a little tune up to go dove hunt, which I never actually did, turned into now I shoot trap. I try to get out at least twice a week, but between you know, school sports and everything, because I still have kids in school, makes it a little tricky, but for the most part I can get out and shoot a couple of derbies a week. Well, what I picked up, this is a Browning Golden Clays 725 Citori. That's she right there. You gonna focus? There she is, Browning 725 Golden Clays. This is an over-under shotgun, so it's a double barrel. Those are snap caps. This features 30-inch ported over-under barrels, 2 3/4 inch. This is a dedicated trap gun. But just so everybody knows, these are not shells. These are snap caps with wool brushes on them. Squirt a little rim oil on those and stuff them in there. Keeps your chambers clean and oiled. This features the Invector DS. How will you actually be able to see that? The Invector DS choke tube system. Like I said, it's 30-inch ported barrels. It does have the mid-rib and front bead. This came with interchangeable front beads. I've got red and green fiber optics, and of course the white. I just put the white in last, when was that, Thursday. I put that in for the Thursday night derby at the Windsor Gun Club here in Shelby County. I feel like that lets me focus on the target better than, you know, that bright fiber optic catch my eye as much. But we did shoot that derby there on Thursday, so it's time to get her all cleaned up. make her all fancy and shiny. I'm going to show you what all I do to do that. Okay, so first things first, we're going to grab our CLP. You guys can use whatever cleaners you guys want to use. I've got a couple different things. I got this powder blast, which that's for, you know, real thick stuff, but whoa, settle down. I don't really use that as much because I keep my guns pretty clean so they don't have a bunch of constant carbon buildup. I do have some others that I don't really use. I picked up this really nice Remington cleaning kit a while back ago. It's actually a range bag that has pockets and everything. If you can see this pretty green mat. But this came with rim oil, a rim all-in bore cleaner, and a Remington action cleaner. Like, you can use that stuff. I don't, they're still in there. Okay, so I think we're ready to start here. We're going to take and pull our snap caps out. Set those off to the side. And I just like to take the CLP and just soak the barrels down. Typically when I'm shooting trap, I'm only shooting off the bottom barrel, but we did kind of play around there on Thursday and shot around at doubles. So both barrels got used, which is why I bought this Citori over like a BT99 or an SKB something. The SKB Citori. But I like to just take and soak everything in that CLP. You know, everything that I've touched, get down in my ports. And then we're just going to set that off to the side for a minute. Paper towels. And we can kind of turn our attention to the receiver while the barrels are soaking. Whenever I put this together, I was instructed to take and drop a little grease here. Let's see if we can zoom in on, get this in here a little bit better. Drop a little grease here. There's two little pins that come out for your injectors, and down here on your hinge. It'd probably be fine to leave that on, but I usually wipe it out and get fresh grease put in there when I reassemble the gun. But I like to wipe the old grease out in case there is any debris or carbon or anything. As you can see, there was some gunk in there. But I'll just take and spray down your bolt face with some CLP, and somewhere I have a set of brushes. Ha! I'll just take a little nylon brush. This kit came with a brass, a steel, the nylon brush, and a set of picks. Wife got that for me on Amazon. I think it was maybe 10 bucks. But I just get in here and just kind of make sure all that's broken up, broken loose. Get in here on the bottom side. That's what I like about these. They got, you know, your big end and then a smaller end. Smaller end you can usually get in on all those hard to reach places. And then I don't always like to use paper towels to clean up like the internals because they're linty and they can get gross. I picked these up at, I think it was at Menards, and they're kind of a more clothy material, but they're not real thick or absorbent. but they get the job done. Then I just kind of get in there and just wipe out all the excess. Yeah, they're self-dispensing. Q-tips are always a good idea to have on hand. These work great for gun cleaning, cleaning your ears, picking your nose, whatever you got to do with them. You can really get in all those little nooks and crannies and really get everything cleaned up. One thing that Remington kit came with that I use frequently is they came with 12, 20, and 410 brushes. And that's a pretty good sized brush. It really gets in there and gets the job done. Versus a more standard, universal gun cleaning kit, which I have an Outers 32-piece universal hard case kit that you can clean everything from 17 to 12 gauge with. And don't get me wrong, it's a great kit. It's got lots of brushes and jags and mops and all that stuff and your cleaning rods, but this is all the brush you get. It's like, this is you versus the guy she tells you not to worry about. So, you're out, dude. I would take our cleaning rod, put on the adapter because the shotgun brushes have a much larger thread. Make sure everything's all good and tight. Make sure the way is clear. And you start brushing. We'll put a little cut in there. I guess I'm gonna have to edit. Now I like to take and run the brush, at least 5 times. 5, 6 times. Sometimes I'll go more if we shot like a hunter bird, which today I ran it about 10 times down each barrel. Saved you guys from having to watch all that, because like I said, we shot our 50 bird derby and then turned around and shot a bunch more afterwards. With the weather coming in, I think everybody was kind of taking advantage and getting as much shooting in as what we could, because chances are we're not going to have a derby on Monday as we normally would. But I mean, just off of those few passes, and I only shot about 75 shells. I mean, you can see all the crap that came out of my arm. So that's why it's important to run those brushes more than just down and back. And you'd use a squeegee to clean it all out. The 410 squeegee, I think it makes an excellent jag to push patches, and I am going to use paper towels. But that 410 squeegee with a paper towel is just about perfect. I'd like it to be just a little bit tighter, but the 20 gauge and a paper towel is too tight. But look how much gross that pushed out. And as you can see, the top barrel was also pretty dirty, but not as bad because they didn't have as many rounds through it. Then you just repeat as necessary. If you need to, take a squirt down a little bit more CLP, or at this point you could just use a little bit of oil. The goal here is to just get all the gunk out. Okay, after several swabs there, you can see that that is the bottom barrel. It's still a little bit dark, but it's the CLP. The light down here makes it kind of weird. And that was the top barrel, so our barrels are good and clean. Now, I'll take a clean piece of paper towel and some good old rim oil. Just spray down my paper towel there with the rim oil and shove that through each barrel. Where were we? Okay. So ran an oily cloth down both of the barrels. Now I'm going to take some scissors. So now we're going to take this thin clothy sort of paper towel, and now we're going to shove it down. This is just to kind of mop up any excess oil, so that way we're not shooting fireballs next time we go shoot. I don't know how well it's going to come through, but it is pretty damp with oil. This camera's like not really in a great spot. It's not catching the best light. Okay. Now we got our barrels cleaned and oiled. Now we're going to take a little bit more of this sort of, whatever sort of cloth this is, and we're going to clean up around our extractors, not our extractors, our ejectors. The difference between an extractor and an ejector is the extractors just kind of pop your shell out a little bit, whereas the ejectors kick your shell out. We're going to go through here on both sides and clean up the old oil. Yeah. And you can use rim oil in this, but I like something that's a little bit thicker. Oh, I picked up at one point in time this Hoppy's gun oil. I like to just take and put a drop there, and then just kind of work that extractor back and forth. You're going to get plenty of oil work down under there. Wipe up your excess. Really, one drop right down in there is all that takes. Get her working all nice and smooth. Especially when you're cleaning and running that brush through, you'll get gunk down here on the inside of the chamber rings. So that's why I like to get a little extra oil in there. Like I said though, it's just not super necessary. Take something and get in there and get it all clean. And down around your locking lugs. That's pretty well it. Take a little shot of rim oil and just kind of wipe everything down. Choke tube wrench. This is the Browning wrench that came with my gun. It says on there 12 gauge. You can use pretty well any choke tube wrench. They're all the same. I've used this one on multiple different chokes. I've used multiple different choke wrenches on multiple different chokes. It doesn't have to be brand specific. But take and pop that down in there and take your choke tubes out. See all that nasty down on there? I want this. What that is leftover solvents, cleaners That is gunpowder residue. So I like to just take a little bit of CLP and a rag and go through and clean those choke tubes. Even not a bad idea. I'm going to use a much shorter, like pistol size configuration rod. I'm not going to put a full one together. But to get in there where your choke tube's set and clean that out. See, this gun is ported. We're in the top barrel there. You can see that rag. If you're hitting the ports, you're in there far enough. But you can see some gunk down on there. So we just want to clean up around the choke tubes. Yuck poo. Let's see, this is the full, so this is my top barrel. I run a full choke in the top and a light full in the bottom. Just take a little dab of grease, and I sell choke tube specific grease. This is just a little bit of, hell, I don't even know what kind of grease this is. It's just grease. But just use your finger and just smoosh that grease down into the threads very carefully. Just run them back in there. Okay, and basically all I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a clean paper towel and a very small, very small amount of Prem oil. You can see probably got, well, it's spread out to about a quarter size. Drop on there. We're just going to go through and wipe down. See, the Golden Clays has grade 4 or 5 wood, which means that it's pretty, it's very high gloss. But we're just going to take and wipe down our wood and the metal components. The light is terrible, so it's throwing real bad glare. But you can see we got a lot of pretty fancy engraving on the metalwork there. So we want to make sure that that is clean and protected. We'll get down in here on the inside, the internals of it, the latch, which is also where your ejector springs are. Just give that a quick wipe with oil. Make sure there's no yuck poo, carbon, and other gross nasties on there. Wipe the old grease off. That is done. We'll get a clean side to our paper towel. And some of you guys may not agree with doing this, but it's the way I've always taken care of a gun that's got a high gloss finish, which I haven't had very many of them. I'll just take and wipe down all the wood, get all the nasty fingerprints and stuff off, wipe the receiver back down. Your locking catch there, safety switch, your side plates, trigger guard, make sure we got all the splatter and everything from it sitting on the bench while we clean the barrel. Okay, now we have our receiver and our buttstock all shiny. This gun does have the Graco recoil reducer. It is the Graco, and it has the Graco adjustable comb on it. Man, that's just pretty. Now, I did pick this gun up used over at Locked and Loaded in Pana, Illinois. So I mean, don't get me wrong, it was not a cheap firearm, but comparing it to what's running on Gunbroker for the same exact gun, I got a pretty good deal on it. Okay, now the one thing people holler about is having your gun stock all oily, so now I'll come back through with a dry rag and just kind of wipe everything down. You know what? I keep wanting to be here. Let's just move the camera. You want everything clean and protected, but you don't want it excessively oily. Bad thing about using a paper towel is this checkering here, especially in the palm swell. It's rather aggressive, so it kind of leaves lint. And just look at that. Look at the attention that they put in that. Even there on the bottom of the trigger guard. Got the gold inlaid Browning buck mark. It's inlaid here. Like it's just a very pretty gun. We'll set that off to the side. Grab our fore end. Wipe all the excess oils off of it. And there she goes. And your fore end again goes back onto this little piece here. Let's see if I can do this on camera without completely bundling it up. Push down, lock her in. Sometimes that'll snap in automatically, mine does not. But this way, this can go back in the case, and your fore end's not rattling around, everything's set together and solid. Well, anyway guys, that's my process and how I break down my Browning Citori trap gun. One of these days soon, when the weather gets a little bit nicer and I have a little bit more free time, I do plan on making a video, going out to the gun club and doing a comparison and contrasting between different shotguns to shoot with. I don't know if that's going to be interesting or not, but it sounds fun and it's something I want to do. It gives me an excuse to go out and shoot and, you know, burn a little bit of powder and all that good stuff. And kind of compare and contrast between different levels of guns, between a just plain Jane beat around the bush squirrel hunt, rabbit hunt with 12 gauge and something high-end fancy like that Browning is. Because you don't have to, you know, be into the sport that much. This is not necessarily a cheap sport or hobby to be into. Just in shells, I mean, you're looking at, you know, 4 boxes of shells a night, or not a night, a week, if you're going to shoot 2 nights a week, which doesn't sound that bad, but you know, it starts to add up pretty quick. All right, guys, now that we've got her all clean, got everything put back up, got our little tube of grease back where I keep it, choke tube wrench is back in here, forearm is back on the barrel, that's set in its place, the receiver is set in its place. So we've got everything tore down, clean, back up where it goes. You can see I got the bench all cleaned off, got my solvents and everything put up. So yeah, so if you guys want to see a more in-depth review on this gun, it is coming, and I do have a plan of I do have, you know, a plan to do a more in-depth review of this gun, and I do have plans of doing a video comparing and contrasting different guns to shoot trap with. If you guys are interested in that, hit the subscribe button. I think it's probably here, and I think the notification bell's over here, or they're the other way around. I don't know. I know it's been a while, so you guys are probably going to be out of your algorithm. We will probably be out of your guys' algorithm to pop up, whenever we post. So hopefully you'll see this. We'll get it posted on Facebook that this video is up when it goes live. I think that's everything. I think so, and I think we got her covered of getting it good and clean. The process that I use, I guess we forgot to use the little squeegee thing, but I just kept running swabs through it instead. That's what I should have done, was a video of running a bore snake through it versus the long process of cleaning. Maybe we'll do that next time. I don't know. Yeah, if there's a specific gun that you guys want to see, tore down and clean, well, I guess it can't be a specific gun, because unless it's one that I already have. Well, if I don't have it, and if I can't go buy it, then I ain't gonna have it. But I've taken apart a lot of guns over the years to, tear them down to give them a full strip. So in my experience, they've all pretty well been the same. There's not too much to them. The only thing I don't take apart is trigger groups, and I rarely do a full teardown of a bolt if it's not just a simple bolt. Just for a simple fact that it's not absolutely necessary to do so every time that you clean the gun. It should be done, I guess, every now and again. But anywho, I'm rambling again. This is the third time that I've done this outro because I keep rambling. So I'm just going to shut up. I'm going to end the video. Thanks, guys, for being here and sticking with us over the years. Like I said, if you enjoy this kind of content and you're pro 2A, you're pro hunting, you're pro fishing, hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell. Hopefully we'll start getting more videos out this year than what we have in the last couple of years. But stick with us, get after it, and keep after it.